I'm Leigh Brown. This is Crazy Shit in Real Estate, Home Office Edition. Today I've got Erica Davis. She is a very experienced and calm broker in Bend, Oregon. You're going to really enjoy this conversation, especially if you're looking for some strength as you get into the real estate market of 2024 and beyond. So enjoy this conversation with Erica. And by the way, we call out Bob Wolf in this, so somebody tag the man in because he's going to love this. I'll see you on the other side.
All right. Can you hear me and see me?
I can hear you and see you, and you're not frozen. So there we go. For Monday, we're winning.
And it's early here, so.
Oh, that's right. So here, I'm mid-morning. I'm on second pot of coffee. You're probably still first.
Still first, yep. It's still a little dark out.
Oh, but you're going to get sunrise. We had a pretty one this morning. Maybe you'll have a pretty one too.
There you go. But I'm going to be in here with you, so you're my sunrise.
Well, good. I'll try to be sunny then. So I'm so glad to have you on the show, and I appreciate you coming on and give us some insights about what's happening in Oregon. So before we get started, why don't you tell the audience who you are, where you're located, a little bit about how long you've been in and around the real estate space, just a little snapshot.
All right. My name's Erica Davis, and I'm the co-owner of Harcourts The Garner Group Real Estate in Bend, Oregon. And let's see, I have been a co-owner of this office since 2016, but I've been with the company since about 2001.
Just for the public to know, that's how real estate math works.
Yeah.
All of us
it feels like forever. Because we purchased the company from my mom, and she was licensed since 1979. So really, I have grown up in this business. So all the numbers run together.
And my dad was 78, so I feel like we're twins, and our parents might be in the same era too. Because my dad spent most of his time going, I remember the one-page contract when a handshake meant something.
Oh yeah, yep, signing them on the hood of a car, right?
Oh, and I'm not even laughing at him because I wish we still had a one-page contract and handshakes meant something, but
things are changing.
So you're a lifer then. So when you make it in real estate that long, it makes you a lifer. But did you do anything before real estate, or did you come straight out of school into your mom's world?
I was a stay-at-home mom, and I did in-home daycare. And my husband wanted to join real estate, and he worked for a different real estate company. My mom said, yeah, no, you're going to sell real estate. You're going to work with me. So
I like it.
I came kicking and screaming, and now he works for me. So,
so you guys have had every iteration then to figure out what was best.
Exactly. And it's great. I love it. I wouldn't change it.
So did you wait till the kids were out of the house or in school, or what gave you
they were older. They were older. Yeah. But our youngest she would have been in the 4th grade. So in school full time, it felt good.
I mean, there's definitely a connect there with a lot of realtors who would either like to be stay-at-home moms and they want to know if they can bleed real estate into it, or they've been stay-at-home moms and they want to get out into real estate because they may want some adult conversation. And I find that there's a lot of really good parallels to managing your family versus managing your clients.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle. It is a lot to juggle, and I see new moms getting into it, and it's a lot. It is a lot. One of my partners, Sarah, she had to juggle it with two young boys, and it was a lot, and she did it. But it is a lot. There's no other way to say it. And I give them a lot of kudos.
It's doable, but it would be nice if we had more spaces where people could get a better flair for what they're walking into before they walk into it. Not that they can't survive, but preparation is half the battle.
Yeah, exactly. I used to say I went from child daycare to adult daycare. And I mean that in a very kind way, but it is.
I mean, it's truthful, because I guess in a daycare, you probably have that one child who seems to attract all of the bumps, scrapes, and problems. And in real estate, there's always that one agent who attracts all the crazy clients and the complaints. Just happens.
For sure.
And we just roll with it because that's how we operate.
Exactly.
All right. So in that 20 years-ish of being in real estate, knowing you were around it before you got into it, and then transitioning into the ownership space, Are you glad you transitioned the ownership space? And tell us how that came to be, because I find that that's a conversation that happens all the time of, should I go from sales to ownership, whether it's in the firm they're with or on a separate firm, and it's two entirely different beasts. So what have you learned and what advice would you give?
I actually love the ownership part of it. And I am licensed, but I have never done sales. So I
Oh,
just
okay.
manage agents and manage office. And my husband sells. One of my partners, my sister, she sells. And our other partner, she does not sell. She was principal broker for a while and has moved into a bit of a different role of managing agents, but has relinquished a little bit of the principal brokering. And I love it because I love my agents. I love helping them when I can. I love helping my staff. I love problem solving. I love thinking of the future, of how we can grow, what we can do, thinking outside of the box. I look at this as the world is our oyster. And what else can we do?
So you're really talking about the 30,000-foot view of real estate from your standpoint as that managing broker. And it's very easy to acknowledge that salespeople don't tend to have a 30,000-foot view. They tend to have a what do I have to do today view. And that's, I think, one of the trickiest things for salespeople transitioning into management is moving your viewpoint a little bit, especially in a space right now where the entire structure of real estate is getting questioned and reformed. So you're going to have that 30,000-foot viewpoint to create tomorrow. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's an agnostic statement. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at that with the firm that you're in, you guys are independent, correct?
We're with Harcourts is a franchise.
Oh, I didn't know you were Harcourts. That's my
Yeah.
Australian friends.
Oh, yeah. We're Harcourts.
I didn't know that. Okay, so you guys should know Harcourts is a huge brand in Australia and New Zealand, highly respected, the top of the line, and they've been trying to get some foothold in the US, primarily on the West Coast, and just highly respect that brand altogether. And we'll probably see more of that growth from that brand, I would think, over the next couple of years, as I think auction's finally going to take off with the changes to the markets. My personal guess, and Harcourts understands that auction is not just for foreclosures. Does your office do the auction side yet?
We have done a few, and we're really trying to kick it off because I think auction's fantastic. Of course, here auction has, the dirty word that it is foreclosure and problem properties and stuff, but we do not handle those kind of properties. Matter of fact, if they start to go that way, we have to relinquish them. We just don't, or not relinquish them. They have to be moved out of auction and into, more of the short sale type of situation. So auction is not, we do not handle that kind of property in auction.
It's just so funny because you have to go into this whole that's not that kind of auction thing, because the vernacular is so strict in people's minds that auctions are always distressed properties. When if you go to Australia and New Zealand, it is completely the opposite. It is an elevation of a property to be exclusively auctioned off. So now that you bring that up, because you're totally right, it makes me wonder what it's going to take for the conversation to move, because vocabulary can be weaponized so much. I mean, we see it in the rental side where Section 8 is treated as the worst of the worst, when in reality, it's just a housing voucher program and can look like a million things on the spectrum, depending on the tenant and landlord, but it all gets demonized. So there's, anyway, that's a space we didn't expect to go down this morning, but now I'm sitting here thinking vocabulary.
It'll be interesting, but you know what? It's nothing to be afraid of. And they, like you said, Australia and New Zealand, and I mean, all over the place has done auction. It's nothing new. It's nothing new, and it's nothing to be afraid of.
No, it's just different. And
it's just different.
Different is scary, and different's not scary. It's agnostic, right? It's just.
And guess what? Different. It's totally transparent. There's no secrets.
Well, speaking of transparency, I'm going to get my auction license this year, so I'm super excited. I'm all signed up for my class, and I can't wait to be an auctioneer. And I'm sure that the world can't wait for that either, because that's going to be a trip.
You probably need to interview Ben Brady, find out all about auction.
Who's Ben Brady?
Ben Brady is He's the one who is our head guy with Harcourts North America, and he is the head of auction here. But you'd probably love to pick his brain.
Then I'm going to have to ask Mike why he hasn't introduced me to Ben Brady then, because Mike is actually owing me a favor.
There you go.
Actually, I think I owe Bob something too. And
Bob Wolf.
yeah, because he won actually. So we'll call this out. Bob Wolf, you won me at an auction, not like that, but like for a coaching training session for one of your offices. How many years ago was that? What year did y'all come into California? 17, 18? It was pre-COVID. It's been a long time.
It would have been before that when they came to California, because we bought the company in 16 and it was we were already Harcourts.
So maybe it was right after they came, because I was in Australia speaking in 15 for Harcourts and for Hooker, which is the other really interesting brand in Australia. And then I came in with Bob and Mike in like 17 or 18, and we did an auction, and Bob won a training session with me for his office. He never used it. So
we love Bob Wolf. We love him.
Love that guy. He's so smart.
He is so brilliant.
Hey, Bob, don't retire just because the industry's changing right now, by the way. So I'm just going to throw that out there, because I do have this personal, my only concern, and I'm not even call it a fear. I think we're going to lose a lot of our really good seasoned people as the industry's transitioning, because they're just going to say, you know what, I'm good. I could have retired anyway, and now I'm going to go ahead. Or they saw, God love him, we lost Steve Harney last week, and we're recording this the middle of March. And if you didn't follow the news, Steve Harney was the guy who created so much of our beautiful narrative around the data and the story of the market. And with Keeping Current Matters, such a brilliant guy. At 68, we lose him. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of our seasoned folks that say, far from me to have to fix everything, and they'll just retire. So Bob, don't retire. And all of my other industry cohorts, you have to ask permission before you retire yourself. So I'm going to declare myself to be the arbiter of retirements for industry icons. Okay. Except there's some that I'd probably say yes to, but that's a different discussion. Okay. So anyway, we were having a whole very quickly in 4 different directions. You're with Harcourts, which is in the U.S., not a huge name brand yet. And I do think we continue to grow, because you guys are a slow growth, slow burn company, which is why you're able to successfully look at this transition as just a transition.
Yep.
So when you're looking at the realities of being a broker and a managing broker in a changing real estate environment, have you started having any recruiting phone calls yet? And of course, we're having this conversation 2 days after the National Association of Realtors settlement was announced, but I know that I'm starting to already have recruiting conversations. I'm curious if you are.
Not quite yet. I mean, it's a little early. It's 7:13 in the morning. So I think we'll get right on that about 7:30.
I mean, I do think there's going to be agents that are going to look for stability and calm and an action plan to know how to take their chaotic life, because real estate's a chaotic life, especially if you are a parent trying to manage kids, and even more so a single parent trying to manage kids, or if you're an inexperienced broker who just got in and is now thinking, what is happening? There is going to be a move toward thoughtful, reasonable leadership that's not flying off the handle, panicking, or immediately just discounting themselves and their expertise into a space that says they're not valuable. Not discounting in terms of dollars, people. That's got multiple vocabulary definitions, and please become better technicians of the English language. That's my other request here. So anyway, so Erica, you've been in and around the business a long time, and you're now managing your husband, and you've worked with your mom. I want to talk about the family aspect for a second, because in real estate, it becomes a family business, even if everybody's not in the business, because those of us that are in it have all these stories, and we come home and we and say what happened to us today, or the practitioners say, hey, can you go carry the sign for me real quick? Will you drop off this paperwork for me? Will you handle a key? So we have these tasks that we divvy up, because that's how families operate. And that can be tricky and also wonderful when you're dealing with your spouse in real estate. So I'm curious what your best practices are in dealing with a parent and a spouse in real estate, and What mistakes have you made along the way with those relationships when only in the real estate space?
Well, being raised by a real estate agent, it was for my sister and I, because it was my sister, my mom, and myself. My mom was a single parent for quite a few years of us growing up. So we were taught how to answer the phone, all of it, because there were really, when we were kids, no cell phones. So it was always landlines. So real estate was very much a part of our life. It just was. Everywhere we went, she would run into people. Definitely knew how to talk with people face to face, on the phone, all of that. So real estate was 24/7, honestly. With my husband, that was hard. It was hard because when we were working together, we'd bring it home, talk about it. Probably the best thing we did was during COVID, we bought a little mini farm. So we have some property, and that keeps us a little busy in the evening. So we go outside and we have chickens. We chill with the chickens. We hang with our dogs and we enjoy outside. And that was probably the best thing that we could do, because it will get draining if all you do is talk real estate. You
Can you
have to
people please
escape it.
listen to what she said and write that down? And whether you're talking about it at home or with your best friends or, God forbid, on social media, if this is the only topic that comes up, you've got to broaden your horizons. And you might not be a chicken mom like we are, but chickens, I highly recommend them.
You got to get them.
So much to it that you don't understand.
It's silly, but I'm telling you, it will get you talking about something other than real estate.
Is there a class that you took on the that's been good for you? I want to hear all about it.
Yes. Okay. So I am in the progress of taking your How to Dominate During a Recession class. And oh my gosh, it's just absolutely the best. It's really helpful to understand and to know what it was like during the other recession, and to how to proceed. But also at the same time, in the back of your mind, remembering that every recession is not the same. So you have to be prepared, but you have to be flexible. So understanding, educating during this downtime in our market, educate, getting on top of that, and being prepared. So, take as many classes as you can, get involved with your association. Just really, diving in has been, I'm so excited to get it completed. But it's a great class. Highly
I'm so glad that you're finding it helpful. And I love what you said, too, that every recession is different, because whether the media wants to call it one or not, we know the economy is not feeling perfect right now. And when things go, that's when we do more education for ourselves so we can give that education to our clients. And so thank you for those kind words. I can't wait to get the full review when you finish it. And by the way, friends, if you follow the link here, we might have a discount code to get you involved in that class as well. So you can join Mackenzie and get some education in your yoga pants in the evenings while you clients during the day. So thank you for that kind recommendation. I'm so glad you're enjoying the class.
Yeah, you're welcome.
There's therapy to those chickens. I'm convinced of it. Are you in that Facebook group, Everything Backyard Chickens?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Girl, that page is on fire. I mean, except this time of year, y'all, you should know that almost every post is this a hen or a roux? And if you know how to look at the saddle feathers, you already know, but these posts come up in the comment threads are this long. It's hilarious. And I love it so much. Okay, so I totally got distracted there.
I know.
Chickens too, but I have a question for you. So when Mom trained you and Sarah, right, your sister?
Nope, Sarah is my cousin. Shelly's my sister.
Okay, so there was an S there.
Yep.
So you and Shelly have to answer the phone for Mom. How did she train you to answer it? So I'll be ringy dingy. How did you answer it?
You had to answer very politely. It was just at that point it was hello, and if they asked for her, you had to get their name, number, message, and honestly what they were calling about, if you could, so that you could give her the message.
How old were you taking those phone calls?
Oh, well, she was like, I would have been 10, starting at the age of 10.
I love that so much. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this. If you're a parent watching or listening to this podcast, if you have a 10-year-old in your house, you should probably let them answer your phone and train them to have human conversations and how to be respectful and polite, how to ask those questions and write down the answers and give your kids a starting point. I fear that right now, I mean, I see it with my kids, and my kids are a senior in high school and a freshman in college. They're not great on the phone because they have not had nearly enough practice. And it's like everything else in life. You have to develop a tempo, and you develop a comfort with it, and that comes from doing it. But we also should remember that if the consumer heard a kid on the phone saying, "Hello, this is Erica's phone,"
Mm-hmm.
they actually might be a little bit nicer because they'll realize they shouldn't just call and scream and cuss at their real estate professional. And then if the kid gets some information and then you get to call them back, they're going to remember too that you have a family and that you have a life outside of real estate. So if it takes you 20 minutes to get back to them, it might even take down their frustration a little bit. And I think that's gotten forgotten in the sense of we need to respond immediately to every text, every phone call, every email. So the public develops an unreasonable expectation of us, and they do expect us to ditch our entire family all the time and only be worried about their transaction. And while we do want them to have a successful transaction, we want them to have a good life because of their real estate, and we should have a good life because of real estate too. So high five to your mom for expecting y'all to earn your keep at the age of 10.
Yep.
Love that. I mean, I wish we could do this. Should be like a whole thing now, a whole trend in real estate. That real estate parents teach your kids how to answer the phone respectfully, thoughtfully, and take good notes.
And that's one of the things right now that's driving me crazy is, and I may be the only one, but how much real estate is done through texting. It makes me bonkers.
Tell me about that, Eric. Why does it drive you bonkers? Tell
because
them.
Because I think that it's so impersonal. I just think that you need to be talking to each other. Agents need to be talking to each other. It makes me crazy. And I know I get told it's quick, it's efficient, it's this, it's that, but so many things can get misunderstood, by a tone in a text and all of that, and just talk to each other.
Okay, so you're a managing broker, and in your office you have agents. What percentage of the agent kerfluffles would you say goes from a misunderstood text? Half of them? More than that?
I would say that I run into that all the time because I hear myself telling an agent, you don't know how that tone is. Why don't you pick up the phone and call? Just because something's written in an email or in a text, your head is saying it one way, but that might not be how they meant it.
Amen. And you don't know where their headspace is.
Exactly.
So they just got screamed at by a home inspector who couldn't get the door unlocked. And then they read your text and they read it in that very angry viewpoint. Well, suddenly you can't solve your problem.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And amen and hallelujah. And speaking of the changes structurally that are happening in real estate, I think this is going to be key. What you're talking about here is the way that agents communicate with one another as much as or more than we communicate with the public. It's got to be, how do we get more helpful? And this is faster, by the way. I find it faster to talk.
Well, I do too.
What I'm saying.
Plus, if you're anything like me, that stupid autocorrect, I mean, half the time I don't get it right.
And then we wind up saying, forgive me for all my misspelled words. I didn't really mean to say ducking because nobody's ever tried to write the word ducking. And I just heard about that, y'all, because I'm so wholesome and stuff. But I heard about that. It's crazy. But also, I have noticed that Siri will change other words too, based on what she wants you to say. And that's really irritating. But anyway, okay, so I've rambled with you a little bit because I love the background that you have, and I love what's happening with your presence is so methodical and calm right now, which is what we need in real estate. So thank you for that, Erica. So anyway, you've been around real estate a long time. The premise of the show is the things that we've seen in and around real estate, they're kind of crazy. And so since you've been a managing broker, it might have to do with an agent. You can't use your husband as an example because we want to support marriage and unless it's something he knew you were going to talk about. But tell our audience something they will never believe happened in Oregon.
Oh. Well,
It's the one story that you tell your husband over the chickens. You're like, you're never going to believe this.
well, one of the things I listened to we watched your YouTube that you put out on Friday, which was great. But and you were talking, and it got us talking about some different things that we've seen over the years, why it is important to have representation on on all situations, quite honestly, on both sides. We've heard that, you buy a new construction home. Well, it's brand new construction. Don't really need a home inspection if it's new construction. Well, sometimes maybe the sewer line isn't hooked up underneath the house. And if you don't have your inspection, that's not going to get caught now, is it?
It wasn't hooked up at all?
Yeah.
So the pipes in the house, were they dumping into the crawl space?
Yeah.
Oh, when did the buyer catch it? After closing?
Yes. And it was quite some time after closing, if I remember right. This was way back in the beginning when I first started. So, yes.
Well, it would take a minute for it to.
And Sarah and I just had this conversation last week, reminiscing on this. But, those are things that if you, as a buyer, go at this by yourself, I mean, you're just thinking, oh, it's a brand new home. It's okay. But stuff can happen.
Well, it's the county.
Or a bathtub can drain.
Yeah. They miss things. And they're built by humans.
They're built by humans. And that's why you have all these steps, that you need to get done.
Well, and think about it too, like the people, and I really enjoy people who leave comments on my videos. I appreciate all of you so much. All the people who tell me they can do all this by themselves. What they don't know is that when you get into the middle of real estate, it is wildly emotional and your stress level is here.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that you're not intelligent enough to manage your purchase or your sale by yourself. Your intelligence level is never in question. But what the realtor brings to that is, I'm not the emotional piece of the puzzle here. I'm the one saying, all right, here's our checklist. Let's talk about the purpose of a survey. Let's talk about the purpose of the home inspection. Let's talk about why we want to make sure the realtor is at the final walkthrough with the builder. With new construction, I find that there are some builders that do not want the agent there for the walkthrough. And if you're the consumer, you should say to yourself, why wouldn't my builder want my agent with me? Because that's where you realize they're preying on your emotional desire to get into the house. The realtor walks in and says, hang on a minute, this doesn't look right over here. And there's a real benefit to that. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think new construction is one of those areas that, in fact, many realtors have given up on. They say, you know what, it is new. Maybe I'm not that important, because they've forgotten about the value of their non-emotional checklist and their expertise. And then frankly, y'all, you can take Erica's story, because if it happens in her market, it can happen in any market. And all you have to be is like that kid in that movie that says, this one time at band camp, and you say, well, this one time at a house, the sewer line didn't get connected and they didn't find it until much later. And you're not building a compost pile up under the house. So it's not really any good under there.
No. And, our youngest daughter just purchased her first home, which we're so proud of, a year and a half ago over in Portland, which is, it's 2.5 hours from where we live, but we don't sell real estate over there. And so, we referred her to an agent over there because we understand the value of that, of her having representation over there, because we want her protected through that process. So we sent her to someone that we trusted to take care of her. And he did a wonderful job. And to this day, she loves him. I mean, she calls him her agent. And we're like, hey, what about mom and dad?
I love this conversation so much. So I need you to reiterate this, because as we look at the changing landscape of real estate, the data is getting more and more broad and also deep. So you can access more data in more areas and it goes deeper. You have an Oregon license. You are
Mhm.
only 2.5 hours away from Portland.
Mhm.
Why would you say a local expert made more sense for your child when you have the legal capacity, according to the State of Oregon Real Estate Commission, to help her? What is the thing most agents need to consider and why they should behave like you instead of trying to drive 2.5 hours away to represent their kid?
Because, everything, or the way their forms are different over there. Number one, they at that point when she bought, one of the things that they do over there were our sewer scopes. We don't do at that time a lot of sewer scopes here. We're starting to do them more now, but just stuff like that we at the time were not real familiar with. John, her agent over there, who she loves, he knew all of the things that she needed to have done. And we knew that. And we knew we would not be dropping any balls for her.
You knew you wouldn't be dropping any balls. Did y'all hear that? That is a big old gem that Erica has dropped on you there. And if you're the person who's concerned about an ability to compete in a changing real estate market, the truth of what Erica is saying is, if you know what's happening in your market and you know what is market specific, lead with that, because trying to be all things to all people is the fastest way to, well, frankly, liability and an unhappy consumer. Your daughter loves John because she had a high level of trust in his expertise,
Mhm.
but she also transferred her trust of you guys to John because he came to you. So there is that.
Yep. And he was worth
credit for that.
He was worth every penny, to take care of her. So
I love
no
that.
regrets.
Okay, Erica. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and talk either about the Bend market, what's happening in Oregon, they want to find out about Harcourts in your office, or they really just want to talk to you about what it was like to work with a mom and a sister and a husband and a cousin and all these other random people that you love and are related to in real estate, what's the best way for them to find you?
My email is Erica, ERICA, at the Garner, GARNER group.com. My phone number is 541-280-9134.
And friends, of course, as usual, all of Erica's information is in the show notes for this episode. So if you were driving down the road listening or out for a walk, never fear, you can go reach out to her. And for those of y'all that are going to think this was a plant because she says a lot of the things that I might have said in conversation, she's not a plant. She's just on the same wavelength that I am as far as where professionalism can be and how we can build businesses that are sustainable through competence and knowledge, and frankly, through chickens. And so we're just going to end with that. Erica, thank you so much for coming on the show. Such a pleasure to have you with me today. All
right, look up Ben Brady.
Oh, I wrote it down over here. And Bob Wolf, if you don't comment on this, then we'll both be heard.
There you go.
All right, guys, make sure you hit the bell to subscribe. Leave a nice comment about Erica in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
So if you found value in this episode, please like and subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell, and catch another amazing episode by clicking above. Crazy Shit in Real Estate is also available in all of your normal podcast apps. So if that's where you like to hang out, go find me, click subscribe, and most importantly, leave me a review that says you think I'm awesome, my guests are awesome, or this content is just exactly what you were looking for. And then, by the way, if there's something you need, you want to learn about something, you can comment below anytime. You can also send me a direct message if you need to remain anonymous. No judgment, but anyway, I'll only judge if you forget to subscribe and click. I'll see you next time.